And welcome to the Barksdale Bubble. I'm meteorologist Brian Fowler. We are joined today with Marty Loschen. He is the director of the Spring Street Museum. And we're talking about hurricanes, you may have noticed, but not quite exactly the same meaning back in the day. Hurricanes a long time ago weren't necessarily hurricanes. They were tornadoes. But back then, they called them hurricanes. Is that the best way to explain it, you think, Marty?
Yeah, it just goes to the simple vernacular. That was the word that they used back in the day, all the way up until the 1860s or so, and then around 1890 they switched totally from hurricane to tornado. So this event that we are going to talk about was actually labeled in the surveyor notes as a land hurricane.
Hurricane, yeah, versus a
land
water
hurricane.
hurricane, I guess.
Exactly.
And it wiped out, it was a pretty large hurricane or tornado back then. It wiped out a pretty good bit of land, right?
Yeah, this was back. This is the very first land surveys that took place in the area around modern day Shongaloo. It's Township 23 North, 9 West, and it's a 6 mile by 6 mile square with individual squares within the township that total 36. So I don't know if you can tell or not, but you can see a swath through diagonally heading from west up to north, northeast. But that is 1 mile wide.
1 mile wide. And what we're looking at, folks, what Marty is talking about is that area that looks like a river has been drawn out. It's on both sides, has the darker markings on it, going diagonally from, you said, what is that, from the southwest to the northeast?
Yes, yes. And that would be a total of 36 sections, and each section is 1 mile square. So you can see how large that is. I did some measurements, and it's over a mile wide.
What are the darker areas in the northwest and southeast?
Those are actually lands that have already been claimed.
Okay.
Someone would have lived there. So as you can tell, as the tornado swept up and through, nobody was there to see this. This was very early. This was very, very early. You actually have to go to what's called the field survey notes. That's actually how they put this map together. The surveyors as a team will go out and they'll make detailed measurements, and they'll zigzag back and forth across the map until they complete the map. Then they submit their survey notes to a cartographer, and they meticulously put together a map from all of that data. And one of the things that they'll observe while they're tracking through the wilderness, basically, is the different types of trees, landforms, water sources, creeks, and detailed measurements, very, very detailed measurements. And they would do this with one large chain. The chain measured 66 feet in length. It had 100 links in it. And then they would take it 80 times across a section, and that would equal 1 mile. So they had to drag that chain all through the swamps and the woods, mosquitoes and whatnot. Yeah, it was a pretty detailed, it was a pretty rough way to do that.
Yeah, so that would be. I'm sure they didn't want to survey another item after they were done doing these townships and getting all that.
So when I first saw this, I thought, maybe this is just a land sweep. There might be a few trees down here and there. They were just marking the borders of what could have been, just maybe a sporadic tornado. But when I went to the field notes, they take usual measurements like trees and whatnot, and then they will take unusual things that they see that are unusual. And let me tell you, those field notes were full of almost apocalyptic type notes, all trees down.
And I believe we do have some. I believe we do have some of the notes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's look at some of the notes, because this will actually show you the actual handwriting, and that's what took me so long. This handwriting will give you cross eyes. I mean, you have to go through it meticulously and slow. So let's see, which one is that one? Oh, that's the start that is actually where the tornado started, in a completely different section. And look how wide it is already. Now, remember those sections, see that section 12? What is that under 12? I'm still burning stuff up, man.
Section 12, is that going to be the bottom row?
Yeah, and you see how the sections are lined out. You start with one at the top, and then they record them. It's called as the mule plows the field. They'll zigzag back and forth, 1 to 6, and then across and then back. And you can see exactly where the tornado touched down. I believe that is section 14, I think, down the bottom. 13, let's see, 14, 13, and 12. That's where it touched down. And it was huge. I mean, it was almost a half a mile when it touched down. And then it crossed into the next section. If you want to put that up, that's going to be 22 north, 9 west.
Can we bring that up?
Look at that. Yep. Now, do you see how large that's gotten? Look at the top left corner. See how large that's gotten already?
Yeah, I see
This
that.
this thing was powerful from the get-go. I mean, it looks to me that that's almost a mile wide. And then it crosses up into 23 9 west. And you can go back to the first slide that we have. You see see the track. You kind of envision the track now as you go through the plat maps. And at section 33, that's where it would have destroyed completely and absolutely destroyed the entire town of Shongaloo.
Had it been there, but I guess there was no
Had
town.
it been there,
Yeah,
there's no one there. It's kind of like, if a tree falls in the woods, does anybody hear it?
right.
I've only been able to locate within those 3 plat maps one individual. His name is Thomas B. Neal. If any of your listeners know someone that if they're kin to Thomas B. Neal, he would have been the only person that would have actually seen this, possibly because he owned land directly in the tornado path. So I want to continue doing my research to actually see what happened to him.
And maybe he has kinfolk that still live in that
Yeah,
area.
definitely. If one of your listeners is out there and they know a Thomas B. Neal from the past, I want to know his story. Did he make it? Because if he was in this path, he better hoped he wasn't home.
Yeah, no kidding. Or was walking around in that general area. Maybe he wasn't though. So
Maybe he wasn't. And this continues. We'll have to probably do a part 2 to this, because I'm going to take the plat maps for Arkansas. As you can tell, that's the Arkansas state line at the very top of that township. It continues on into Arkansas. It is no telling what those plat maps are going to say.
right.
This thing could have tracked forever.
And if it started in Shongaloo,
It very easily could have gone well into Arkansas.
well into Arkansas, because we had that one a year ago that started in Mansfield, and it went all the way up into North Bossier, all the way to almost Arkansas.
And the date on this has what's eluded me, but I'm about on top of it, because I want to try to see if this tornado was actually part of the historic 1840 tornado that hit Natchez. If you remember your history, Natchez is still the second deadliest tornado to ever hit the United States, behind that tri-state tornado, that big one that swept across 3 states.
Right.
So the field notes prior to 1840, they don't mention this storm at all. Okay, so we can totally take that off. The field notes in 1853 refer to the hurricane as an old hurricane, so that pushes the date back down closer to 1840. And I've actually done research on other events that happened in 1840. There were 2 other than the Natchitoches tornado that was totally devastating. There was another track that tracked across the Natchitoches area, and another hurricane that was observed by a group coming from Texas to Louisiana. So that could possibly, our Shongaloo tornado could possibly be part of a weather system that tracked through in 1840. And that would forever link us to a very historic Natchez event.
Yeah, yeah, really, it would. And there was no one in that area, it looked like, at least in that path that we can see right now.
Right, exactly. If had that Shongaloo area been as populated as the Natchez Vidalia area that was completely devastated, they said that I think the Natchez tornado, it was taking steamboats, and just flopping them back into the river, picking them up and flopping them back into the river. They even found a steamboat that had floated down after the tornado, had floated down to Baton Rouge with 53 deceased. It floated all the way down. Yeah, it had totally flipped over.
Oh my
So it was
gosh.
devastating. They said that the Natchez tornado scoured the topsoil off the riverbank. So it must have been, it was bad.
It may have very well then been a
And
EF5.
five, yeah. And this tornado is larger than the path that the Natchez storm carved through there, because the surveyors also saw that scar, when they did surveys. So who knows? I mean, it could have been devastating. I mean, it was that
1840s, 1850s. But the thing is now, though, with the weathering and such, no evidence of these tornadoes, these massive tornadoes during that time, other than just the what the surveyors have for us here.
That is exactly right. That's a snapshot, and the
Yeah.
field notes tell it all. They would, I think, if you want to put some of those up and read their handwriting.
I don't believe you sent them to us, and I sent them to the appropriate folks too. I don't know if we have those.
I wanted you to see those. I wanted the viewers to actually see.
That might have to be the part of the part two then.
Yeah, we'll have to do that on part two. But
we do have them. We do have the field notes. We do have them told.
Good.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
They're the ones that have. It's all like cursive writing, just a bunch of notes.
Yeah, just a bunch of notes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Pull those up. They literally. Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll do that later. But you can look and see the surveyor notes they're pretty straightforward. You don't see any excitement or anything, but they put some pretty strong language in there as far as what they saw, because these were unusual observations. One of them said that all trees for 1 mile stretch, and 80 chains, which equals 1 mile, no trees left standing, all blown to the ground. And they made that observation several times as they zigzagged across the path. There was even one, it kind of baffled me. I'm still trying to figure out what it means, but he mentions land being lost. I mean, is that scoured possibly?
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, if there's no trees, no soil, back then.
I think that's what he meant. The soil, the land was lost.
Yeah.
Like, it was that strong.
Yeah, you couldn't farm. You wouldn't be able to farm it. You wouldn't be able to use any of the wood. I mean, it would have been lost at that point for those folks.
Yeah, and one reason they were so meticulous at documenting these things is because the government was about to sell this property that they were surveying. So that information would be good. If I sold you some property and all the trees were down, that's going to be trouble.
Yeah, that would.
So yeah, they had to document these unusual sites that they saw.
Yeah, because then all of a sudden you have all these trees you've got to clean up.
Yeah,
before you could have just cut out a path, an area that you wanted to use out of your massive area of property, but now you've got to clean a whole area.
Yeah, it would have been good for some. Like if you were going to have to clear it yourself for a field, that would have been great. But if you were going to be selling the timber, which had a value, you would have to be selling the timber at a salvage value now. And then the fact that he said that it was an old hurricane, some of the wood may be rotted, so it may not be any good. So that's information that they had to put on there. So
yeah, and
we might can wrap this up in part two. I'll have a lot more information too.
Yeah, and I did send the information over to our folks, and hopefully, we'll be able to get that on part two.
And maybe I will be able to try to narrow down the date. I really want this to be 1840. I really want it to come out that way because I want this to be part of that historic Natchez. But if it's not, it's not. And we'll have to see what it is. But it's still a strong storm.
Yeah, and Natchez being over in Mississippi, the normal track of a tornado is typically southwest to northeast. So if it may be of a larger storm system though, where you had one hit Natchez and then another storm formed that same day, and it blew
Yeah.
through Shongaloo.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the headings of all the different storms to see. I know that some systems pull them northeast, and the other way. I think Natchitoches rolled right up the river, is if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, we'll nail it down. This will be a good. We'll have a good part two.
So
So,
it's Natchez, is one tornado, and then Shongaloo.
and then farther south, Natchitoches. There was a
Okay.
swath through Natchitoches, and then another one crossed the Texas border and went just west of Shreveport and went all the way up to a place that we now refer to as Hurricane Bluff. Hurricane Bluff. So
Oh, and that's why, because of
that's why, because those surveyors could stand up on that ridge, look back to the southwest, and see a perfectly carved path. That's where. If anybody else knows where Hurricane Bluff name came from, I'd love to hear it. But that's the best. That's the best I can come.
and tell us exactly where that Hurricane Bluff was again.
Hurricane Bluff is on the Bossier side of the river, around probably lined up with where Plain Dealing possibly would be.
Okay.
If you go to Plain Dealing and then go straight to the river, excuse me.
Going due west then.
Yeah, going due west. I think that's it. There might have been a racetrack out there at one point or some. But anyways, Hurricane Bluff. So you're standing on that bluff looking into Caddo Parish. If you just turn 45 degrees, you're going to see a huge, like a lawnmower, carved its way through the grass through there. So, and not only does that match, I measured the width of that particular hurricane, and it came out to 0.17 miles wide. And I read the newspaper. This is actually reported. These people reported this in the paper the next week. They said that they came across a 300-yard wide, fresh tornado track. 0.17 miles is exactly 300 yards. So that's exactly the one that they're talking about, probably. All the pieces of the puzzle are coming together for all of this to be one storm system.
Yeah, one huge outbreak, a major,
one
severe
huge
storm
outbreak. It's all coming together. 0.17 miles wide is 299 yards or something. That's pretty close. That has got to be the tornado that they were talking about.
And what was the date as far as the time of year?
1840.
What the time of the year?
Yeah, that newspaper report for that tornado was 1840. Okay, but the one in Natchitoches, 1840.
But
the one in Natchez, 1840. I'm trying to find out that Shongaloo date, and so far everything's leaning to 1840.
But where did they say anything about as far as what month it was or anything?
It was May. I think it was May 6th or 7th.
Okay, we definitely.
And the people that reported the fresh track hurricane west of Shreveport, they reported that May the 26th. They had it was relatively a month before they found it, but they said it was fresh. It was, within that month. So I'm still working on it. I think we're going to have a good part two of this.
Yeah, we definitely will have a lot more material to share with folks too. Some more of those maps, the old survey maps of Shongaloo. What we're looking at today with the curator director over there at the Spring Street Museum in Shreveport, Marty Loschen. Marty, thank you so much, and we will see you again real soon on the Barksdale Bubble.
Thank you for having me.